Hi everyone. So today's video is a response to a comment from Debbie Wilder, who commented on my last video saying that giving us some social norms or any rules would be of service. And I was thinking about this, and my first reaction was that that's actually really difficult to do because social norms are very culturally dependent, which means they change in every situation, especially nowadays. I know I live in such a pluralist society with so many different cultures that there's not really any one rule set or one set of social norms that should apply all the time. However, I think it might be helpful to just say a couple of the ones that exist for the most part in my culture. So some things are, for example, that when men greet each other, they typically shake hands. When you're in a public place, it's a good idea not to shout really loudly. That's not really done. Wearing clothes in public is a good idea. If you're in someone's house for the first time, you can ask politely if they would like you to remove your shoes or not. Talking to someone, it's common to look at the people that you're talking to and give them some eye contact, at least a little bit, while you're talking to them. There are just so many little things that are just normal in this particular culture that are not necessarily normal in other cultures. So when I was traveling in France, for example, although it was common for men to give each other a handshake when they first meet, when they say goodbye, because you already know each other by that stage, you give each other a kiss to say goodbye. Now that's not something that's done here, but it's done over there because the culture's different. So how do you figure out what the rules are in that sense, if it's always changing depending on the situation? And I think it helps to look at the language again. Like, what is a social norm? What is a norm at all? And the norm is, what is everyone else doing? So it's pretty hard to think intellectually what the norms are in advance, but you can look at any situation and just say, what is everyone else doing? If I'm in a library, everyone else is being quiet. So the unwritten social norm is, don't speak loudly in a library because everyone else is being quiet, and I would be the odd one out if I were to be screaming and shouting in that particular context. So the golden rule that applies to pretty much every situation is, the unwritten rule is, do what everyone else is doing. What everyone else is doing is automatically the social norm. Therefore, if you want to follow the social norms, do what everyone else is doing. Now, for me, that is really difficult because I just don't have that instinct. Other people seem to have that instinct, and they see people doing things and they just have the urge to copy and do what everyone else is doing. I have the opposite urge. When I see everyone doing something, I tend to instinctively think of ways that I can do something different. And it's not a conscious thing, it's just how my brain seems to be wired. So I find it really helpful though, despite that, to be aware of what the social norms are so that I can make a conscious decision as to whether or not I'm going to follow the crowd and do what everyone else wants me to do, or if I'm going to break the norm and do something that no one else is doing and suffer the consequences. Because the reason that you follow the crowd is because keeping your head down, not attracting attention, there's not too many consequences with that. But standing out, there are more consequences. So now, for example, I'm pretty sure there's no one else recording themselves talking to themselves in public. So I'm clearly breaking an unwritten rule here at the moment, but it doesn't really matter because I know what the consequences are and I'm happy to live with those, so I'm happy to break that rule. So I hope that's been helpful. What was the original question? I was supposed to be answering on giving us some social norms or any rules that would be of service. So I hope I've done that a little bit by talking about some of the typical social norms and unwritten rules in my culture, but if you want to follow the rules, the easiest way to do that is by doing what everyone else is doing. And if you're not sure, well, that can be difficult, I suppose. But yeah, if you do what everyone else is doing, that's the easiest way to not attract too much attention and have potential negative consequences. I hope that's been helpful. If you like this video, please let me know. If you have any other questions that you would like me to respond to, please leave them in the comments. I always love it when people do that, because I know that the video that I'm about to make is something that people are actually interested in, instead of me just rambling about whatever comes to mind. And if you want to get more involved, you can join the community on Facebook or Patreon. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll speak to you again soon. Thanks, bye.